Most of the runs.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Hey, look who's in. It's been a while.
It has been a while. What's going on, Seth?
Mike, good morning.
What's going on? How you doing?
Very good. Happy to have you on board for this Sunday morning. A little recap of stakes action, some handicapping, and much more. We'll start out by thanking our friends at GULFSTREAM. GULFSTREAM Park champions start here. Thank them for their sponsorship. And again, mentioned it yesterday and on the handicapper support a couple times this week. We appreciate their hospitality last weekend for the Pegasus. And as I say, we'll do a little stakes recap to start the show, and that'll include some races at GULFSTREAM. They had a nice string of 3-year-old races, both the boys and the girls yesterday. We'll hit on those a little bit later. We'll handicap, give out some ideas for this afternoon. And towards the end of the program, be joined by David Torreggiano. I'll check with him to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You are.
I think I'm on it.
You are.
And he is our hometown rooting interest. We're on another road trip next weekend. We'll be live from Treasure Beach, or Treasure Island, out in, Treasure Beach is the sire, Treasure Island out in Vegas, covering the National Handicapping Championship. And David is our hometown rooting interest. He won the Capital OTB Road to Vegas contest that was run throughout 2018. So we'll check in with him and get a little rundown on how he played the tournament last year to become the winner, and what he's planning to do when the weekend rolls around at Treasure Island.
Yeah, it's got to be really exciting for him right now. Again, last year we had the Road to Vegas handicapping contest. It was a year-long contest. It went for 11 months, essentially. You could qualify, and David was able to qualify. The top 30 faced off, and he was a runaway winner that day. He ended up having a really good day. We'll talk with him a little bit later on about that day. But again, just going into it, because again, not sure if this is his first time. We haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. Contest format, situationally, we talk about it all the time. Handicapping, as far as you just come into the race book and you have money and you can play all the races, whereas designated races happen, designated bet types, situational thinking and stuff like that, trying to cover other people who are maybe below you. It's really fun. It's unique.
Yeah, I was listening. Steve Bick has covered the NHC for the last few years on the radio, and I was listening to his coverage last year, and it was funny. You talk about the difference in thinking for a handicapping contest, and that was really clear. He had Steve at the last day, Paul and Duke Matisse. Paul, of course, the local handicapper who won the whole thing a couple, 3 years ago, based up in Ballston Spa, and we have Paul and Duke on every summer with us up in Saratoga. They're great. Duke's located out in Vegas now, but the Matisse family, of course, the brother trains as well. But Paul and Duke sat in with Steve Bick last year, the last day, because they had been knocked out by then. Paul subsequently won the consolation contest for people who got knocked out, but they sat in with him, and as it got down to the end of the day in the last couple of races, the guy, it may have even been the last race, the guy in the lead made a bet. And he made a bet that eventually won. But Paul sat there and said, oh, that's a horrible bet. That he should have gone another way to strategically. Even after the horse won, he said, nah, he made the wrong move there. And it's just funny to hear, particularly an experienced contest guy like that kind of analyze what's going on.
It's so funny. And obviously Super Bowl Sunday today, you kind of think of it in terms of you have a 14-point lead in football. And you're not playing the game the same way. You want to run out the clock. You start doing different things. that's what he's talking about with covering someone. You're not playing like you would normally start to play off today. You're playing and you're situationally thinking, well, what's the horse that people are going to bet the most? Who am I going to cover? And again, it kind of goes back to the hand in hand with the football theory of, well, you kind of start at the end of the game to play the game a little bit differently than you started at the beginning. And again, right move, wrong move, you start thinking in your mind, well, what's the best way for me to ultimately win? And that's what he was kind of talking about.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk a little bit with David about his experience over the past year with the local contest and his level of excitement heading out to Vegas next week with a chance for a nice 7-figure payoff potentially. And even the positions down further, you wind up with maybe a nice weekend out there. And as I say, he will be our local rooting interest. Before we move, the cap's on the table, so why don't we promo the 2 events here at the Racebook today. If you swing by Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon, first 50 folks get a nice cap.
Yeah, these are great.
That's free. Yeah,
these are fantastic.
Nice.
Got them in on Thursday. I've worn mine every day so far.
Nice.
Really nice. And Shannon Donovan was able to pick them up in the marketing department. And again, first 50 patrons stop down to the clubhouse. We also have the bankroll. Bankrolls have been doing well, so
love to
pass
see you
the
down
baton
here.
on to you.
Always want to see a big crowd down here. Come down, Clubhouse Racebook today. There'll be a $500 bankroll. Put your name in the hat between 11 and 1. We'll select 25 people at 1 o'clock. They'll be on the team, and they'll split up the money that is left at the end of the day. And I hope it's much, much more than 500. But I have to live up to the Pegasus Day bankroll with Mike Callahan. We're at GULFSTREAM, so we weren't keeping track of it as closely as we wanted to during the afternoon. But kind of towards the end of the day, we caught up. And as I understand, and as a guy who's done bankrolls, man, you love when this happens. You're kind of like struggling a little bit early, and then all of a sudden it clicks. And as I understand, the Cold Pegasus Try, which
202.
So you're a Dallas Stewart fan?
Seeking the soul.
Dallas Stewart with a long shot running second in a big race. Surprise, surprise.
I know. No, that was great. It was a tale of 2 halves. Like you said, I've always kind of, when people ask me generally, I say kind of a streaky handicapper. It can be sometimes a little off, but sometimes really, really hot. And it was a tale of 2 halves. So the first half was really slow, and then the second half, I think I hit the last 4 races, the pick 4, nice exact. Bricks and Mortar was a horse that Sully and I liked a lot, and was very impressive in the Pegasus turf. And again, obviously the last race culminating the Pegasus, very impressive race by City LA. I know you guys have already recapped. You guys did a terrific job down there with coverage. But that was a really nice performance. Seeking the Soul rounded out an $82 exacta. The triple came back 202. Again, hopefully everybody had it. I talked about it on the Sunday that I was in covering you guys for OTB Live. But yeah, it was great. Now it's on to you. And again, the bankrolls in 2019 have been terrific so far. And again, our thinking's been right, and hopefully we can carry on the momentum.
See, a couple of my favorite wintertime tracks will be in the mix. I'll take a look at Tampa and Oaklawn as well as Aqueduct.
Oaklawn's my favorite. Every time I see
Oaklawn,
there's so much value. And when you hit one, and again, it's all about just hitting that one race where you really get paid off. Oaklawn is that track that you want to look at.
Yeah, so we'll have them in the mix this afternoon. All right, before we get to stakes recap, I wanted to recap Tale of Two Rainbows. I pushed it a lot yesterday, the Rainbow at Santa Anita. I hope people hit it. Certainly you're not retiring on this, but if you put together a $20, $40, $60 ticket, you walked away with a little under $300. Again, it was kind of logical. My ticket, I finished second in 2 races by that much, but at least it was 2 races. If it was 1 race you finished like that, you would have killed yourself. But I hung my hat on McKenzie, and he just got nipped by Battle of Midway. And then in that 7th race was funny because it was one of the 3 races I thought were kind of head scratchers, and as it turned out, there weren't that many head scratchers. That was the longest price. It was a $12 horse, but for a long time in the betting, it was the favorite. And even after, looking up, I looked down and thought, I still don't get it. I still wouldn't be tempted to use this horse. And I'm just wondering, it was a Mike Mikowski horse, and I'm wondering if it may be one of those where if you were Southern California based, there was just one of those. Sometimes if you follow a circuit, there are certain things you kind of go to that maybe other people don't see. But that one kind of knocked me out. But yesterday, 3 favorites, $3 and change, $3 and change, then the $12 horse, a $5 favorite, and then 2 second choices, $6.80 and $7. So it was very playable, very hittable. They put a lot of money in the pool. There was over $6 million up for grabs, and again, it was $296. So as I say, it was one of those days, nobody would have been thrilled with that. For me, I'm looking more, even on a day like this, I want $600, $800, $1,200 or something. But if you put together a $20, $40, $60
I mean, the payoff's not bad with the numbers that you just kind of said there, $3, $7, $6 there. So all in all, not bad. Again, the weather impacted a lot, scratches and notable names that were out of the races. So short fields, but ultimately, hopefully everybody hit it and have some money to play today.
Flip side with the touting also the rainbow at Gulfstream. Now that the pool has gotten, I will start to jump in and chase the console payoffs because you can get that $600, $800, $1,200 once it gets to about $500,000. Well, it's now over $1 million to carry over, but it was a tough sequence yesterday. It kicked off with a $50 eighth longest price of 9 to start it, and at that point there had to be a lot of people on the sidelines. Then it got more logical. The favorite $5.60, another favorite $3, another favorite $5, and then Wallbanger comes through, sixth favorite of 9 at $61, and wound up with a fourth choice at $13 to end the sequence. The rainbow yesterday at Gulfstream, 20 cents brought you back $21,000.
Not bad at all. And we have to tout Sully, who did have Harvey Wallbanger on top, 61.20. And again, I tweeted it out yesterday. Said dinner was on Sully with the 61.20. He tweeted back at me. This is my new Catholic boy horse, so it potentially could be. But again, great job by him with his handicapping. Hopefully, everybody benefited from that as well. Again, a whopping 61.20. That's nice.
Pushed it a little bit on stakes preview. So congratulations to him for jumping in there. All right, and we'll watch that race in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's jump in. So there was some nice 3-year-old action yesterday, including Harvey Wallbanger. But in New York, it was the Withers Grade 3 event, $250,000 up for grabs. I liked Our Brain Trust, and as they come down the stretch, Our Brain Trust will be the number 6. Not that Brady, number 7, winds up second in the blanket finish among the top 3, but the winner, number 1, Tax, gets it done as the 2-1 favorite under Junior Alvarado. As I say, I liked Our Brain Trust, the number 6. I thought he was going to go by, and then just got a little, hung just a little bit, a little chandelier-like, and then came again. It's a chart margin of head and neck among the top 3. But it was a nice ride up the rail from Junior Alvarado. Tax gets it done. And all I have to say about Tax is the folks at Claiborne must be kicking themselves, and Danny Gargan and his ownership group must be rejoicing because they claimed this horse 2-back, second career start for $50,000. They follow up the claim with a third-place finish in the Remsen behind Maximum Mischief, and now a win in the Withers, a Grade 3 event. Nice claim.
Absolutely. This horse just keeps getting better and better. Going forward. And again, the top 3 ran, I thought, terrific races. Like you said, Our Brain Trust was a horse that I think at good odds, good value, just under 4-1. You kind of thought was a value play in there. Like you said, mid-stretch, you kind of thought he was going to go by, sort of flattened out deep in stretch. But Tax, and again, this was a race that went off an hour and a half before the Holy Bull. You kind of thought, well, if Tax won this race, Maximus Mischief would be
said
even
when
more
I handicapped OTB Live yesterday, this could be a barometer for the
Yes,
Holy
absolutely. Bull. It was a test to see how good Maximus Mischief was, and Tax obviously flattered Maximus Mischief. We'll get to the Holy Bull a little bit later on, but again, it was one of those situations where you kind of use it as a barometer, like you said, going forward. They ran a real time. They went honest fractions, 150 and change for the mile and an eighth, and all in all, I thought it was a good performance by the winner.
These are kind of situations where I'd always love to be a fly on the wall. For the, somewhere with the Claiborne ownership group. Again, they lost the horse. Now, they didn't have confidence in the horse right from the beginning. Had 2 starts for Claiborne. The first was in a maiden 30, just missed there down at Churchill, and then went in that maiden 50 at Keeneland and won that. But Danny Gargan and company jumped in and picked the horse up for the $50,000. But you would love to be, as I say, a fly on the wall and see what the Claiborne folks are thinking now that third place finish in the Remsen and a win in the Withers. And they got to be saying, what were we thinking?
But like you said, going forward from here, Tax, and I still wouldn't disregard Our Brain Trust. I still think as a horse that, and we see it all the time. Last year, like Combatant, a horse that just kept finishing second and third, and you're going to get value in a lot of the Derby probables situationally going forward, but I think is one of those where you can take a look at the top 3 and think that they're going to progress going forward. So,
all right, let's move down to Gulfstream. Again, they had 3 nice 3-year-old stakes races, and we'll start with the girls' version, the Forward Gal, Grade 3, $150,000, 7 furlongs. All eyes focused on the comeback of Feedback. To me, once you got past Feedback, if that one didn't come back or needed a race on the comeback, good-looking debut in Saratoga, middle of August, but hadn't been seen since then for Chad Brown and Klarovich. So the question was, would this horse need one? And if it did need one, number 7, Bye Bye Jay, or number 3, Fashion Faux Pas, look to be the ones to contend. Fashion Faux Pas, boy, at 4-1 is the second choice. Winds up last in the field of 9, but Bye Bye Jay gave a nice little tussle to Feedback. Feedback, according to Jason Blewett in the pre-race commentary, he said he talked to Chad Brown. Chad said Feedback he thought was probably about 80%. Well, for 80%, nice little ding-dong battle. Didn't run away and hide, but again, if you're 80% and you get hooked like this and that horse is coming up the rail challenging as well, the number 1 Champagne Anyone, that was a nice-looking performance on a comeback and only the second career start and a grade 3.
Absolutely. It was a gutsy performance. Again, you didn't see it around the far turn, but they were really going at it around the far turn. It was really trying to hold off that 7, Bye Bye Jay, who really didn't stop at all. So I thought the top 2 ran terrific. You have to believe off that long layoff, Feedback 100% is going to come back and progress even more as far as a buyer goes, and is one that I think is very intriguing for the Chad Brown.
Yeah, it was nice, as I say, come back, and we'll see what the game plan is going forward. But you think the Kentucky Oaks is sitting out there potentially. The Swale Grade 3 event, sprinting for the 3-year-olds. The Holy Bull a little bit later, around 2 turns. I talked to David Fox. You heard that interview yesterday. I liked Seismic Jolt coming out of the Limehouse victory. Seismic Jolt was the number 8 horse. One of those where, and I didn't read any post-race comments, but I would love to hear from Tyler Gaffleone. Did the horse just not have enthusiasm out of the gate? Were the instructions to pull back a little bit? Because this horse typically much closer early on, and Seismic Jolt, again, the number 8 horse, just never got in the hunt. I put Seismic Jolt on top, but I had Call Paul right underneath. The Mike Dubb, Jason Service runner, was the logical favorite. Went off at 3-2, and Call Paul does get it done. Call Paul here, the number 5 horse. Zendon, number 9, runs second. And Topper T, who was 15-1 on the morning line, but took a little action and went off at 6-1. Acacia Courtney kind of talked about this one, the 3 horse who gets up late to run third. And as she talked on the show yesterday, I was kind of looking, and, coming out of the 2 races at Churchill Downs and cutting back to a sprint, Topper T was a little bit interesting. And as I talked to Acacia, I said, you might be onto something. The betting public kind of agreed. Again, going for that 15-1 morning line to 6-1. Javier Castellano gets Topper T up for third. But Call Paul now, 4 wins and 6 starts for, again, Michael Dubb and company and Jason Service. So we'll see where they go. It's that time of year where if you have a 3-year-old, and even if they're proficient at sprinting, you're probably going to try to stretch them out at some point.
Absolutely.
See what you have.
Yeah, it was a workmanlike performance. You take a look at the fractions, 21-3 for a 7-furlong race. You have to believe it's going to set up for someone about mid-pack or even further back. That was the beneficial horse was Call Paul in here. Like you said, though, Seismic Jolt, though, was a horse that I was taking a look at yesterday at home, and just really never fired, because if you take a look at the way the race kind of set up, you would have expected this horse to kind of close quickly down the lane, but really never did so. Maybe one to look at going forward. But again, one of those situations where I thought the race was okay. With the way that the fractions ended up, no one was really assertive at the end. Everybody seemed to be kind of plodding home at the end. So I'm be interested to see going forward how all these horses come out of this race, see if one can kind of progress from there.
And I will say, I was waiting for post-race comments or whatnot. I should note the comments in the chart for Seismic Jolt say hard bump start. I didn't go back and look. I want to go back and look at the head-on of the start, and that may be a legitimate excuse.
Absolutely.
Because he clearly tends to be up much closer than he was yesterday. So
right, and you're second to last, right out of the gate. So one of those situations where maybe just done at the start, you just draw a line through the race, come back next time. But this is where the odds obviously are going to be in your favor. Maybe you get double the price, triple the price going forward. Everybody looking at that race saying maybe you just didn't fire, but maybe you had an excuse.
So again, I'll go back. And that one of the benefits of a Capital OTB bet account, you can pull up those replays and head-on replays as well. We mentioned the cap. We mentioned the bankroll today, your bankroll last week. We don't kind of pat ourselves on the back enough. It's kind of self-serving. But just to pat ourselves on the back and alert people to make it more out in front. And you being part of the marketing department are more well-versed than I am. But if you're a Capital OTB patron, there are a lot of benefits to that. Not just the rebates, but the cap is a nice thing. We do the fan appreciation days at the various branches, and there are contests there, online contests if you can't make it down here to the clubhouse. But we do the bankrolls fairly regularly. And I will, because I believe it's a Mike Callahan brainchild, the bounty bet, correct?
Yes, absolutely,
which is
yeah.
a great fun promotion, and held it this past Friday, and a perfect example. Folks came away with couple of folks came away with a nice little extra chunk of money playing the late pick 4 down at, I believe it was GULFSTREAM on Friday.
Yeah, the pick 4 paid $751. 2 accounts ended up hitting it. They ended up splitting $218 apiece. They got about $108 and change on top of the $751 that you already won. Again, like you said, we try to do a lot for the patrons here at Capital OTB.
We don't talk about it
staying engaged. You know, we obviously we want to bring the game to you, obviously with the shows and everything. Any extra insight analysis, we go down to GULFSTREAM, we go to Woodbine twice a year. You know, we try to do a lot just to make sure that everybody's staying on top of the game, that we're giving everybody the best edge to the game. Because again, it's all about winning money. That's what we're here for, as far as is making sure our patrons have all the info, past performances that we offer online, free past performances, everything else that we can do, the one sheet every day that we put out as far as handicapping goes. But again, a lot goes into the marketing department and obviously corporate-wide as well with all the other departments as well.
You mentioned the free pass performances, and we should alert people, if you haven't already realized, that's going to change up a little bit how you get the free pass performances. But we're tying that in because there'll be some contests available, and so
there'll be a whole members area. So yeah, it's really, and we even put out a YouTube video to talk about how you sign up in the members area. But once you do so, again, it's a very quick thing. You just sign up like you normally would for an account. And it's very straightforward as far as that goes. But from there, you're able to get the free pass performances. You're able to do the contests that we provide online, and also signing up for bankrolls and things of that nature. So again, it's a great new feature. Definitely sign up and take advantage of it.
Yeah, you the first time you may have to go through a little bit of a procedure, not complicated or anything, but then it's the process.
We're always available through email. You know, if
that.
you have a question or concern, we always answer back very promptly. So.
All right, let's continue. Holy Bull yesterday at Gulfstream Park. Yeah, there was your little bit of an upset. And I mentioned yesterday when we had Acacia Courtney on, I mentioned Harvey Wallbanger. I was not as high on this one as Sully was, obviously, but I mentioned we had the owner on, Harold Lerner, Steve Bick and I, a Sunday morning up at Saratoga, and I would say go back and pull up the YouTube video. He's a fun story. He was a horse player his whole life, and then he and his wife, I want to say about 10 years ago or so, won one of the biggest at the time lottery prizes. It was an 8 or 9 figure lottery prize, it was an 8-figure lottery prize. It was big. But then he became a horse owner. Subsequently, his Eskimo Kisses upset the Alabama up at Saratoga. So not just a horse owner, he's got some pretty good horses, including Harvey Wallbanger upsetting the Holy Bull. And he touted us on Harvey Wallbanger before the second place finish at 33-1 in the career debut up at Saratoga. But this one hadn't been seen since breaking the maiden in November at Churchill. Harvey Wallbanger is the number 5 horse, and just a nice rail ride from Brian Hernandez to go by. The next few, Everfast gets up it's for second at 128-1. Maximum Mischief was the 8 horse at 4-5, and Epic Dreamer the number 3 at 12-1. But at 4-5, Maximum Mischief just didn't quite have it in the stretch and winds up running third. Harvey Wallbanger 29-1, Everfast 128-1. The $1 exacta $1,100.
Yeah, hopefully that's someone that.
Little bit of an upset there, and Harvey Wallbanger would have been tough for me. Just on the buy, I'm a buyer's guy, and the last couple at Churchill were a little bit light. And I'm wondering, there were decent performances, a second and a win, but I'm wondering if that does not necessarily bode well for the Kentucky Derby. Again, he ran well, but boy, the numbers kind of went in the opposite direction from the Saratoga and Keeneland start. So it'll be interesting to see as this one potentially returns to Kentucky the first Saturday in May, what you're going to make of that. And a lot will be based on what he does in the next start or two.
And it's one of those situations, what do you do with the favorites? Because obviously we always go into the Kentucky Derby season saying West versus East, and this was a race where you thought, well, if Maximus Mischief is as good as everybody says that he is, undefeated, a horse that was coming in with a lot of tout, that potentially he was going to be able to win this race fairly easy. You know, Mijos was one that was coming in, that was the wild card in here. But he sort of regresses in here. Obviously, Harvey Waldbanger was one that improved off those buyers that you just talked about. But for me, what do you do with Maximus Mischief going forward now? Because obviously, this was a huge regression. There was no excuse. If you watched down the backstretch, was sitting the ideal trip just off the speed, and really just wasn't able to get the job done. Now, Mijos is a horse that I would actually draw a line to this race. If you go back, watch the replay of this race, he was in between horses, really didn't like his position at all and sort of backed out really quickly and ended up finishing and even fifth in this race. But one of those situations where I think he's probably one that you can use going forward. I'm still just trying to figure out what to do with Maximus Mischief going forward. And then also, can these horses that were long shots in here repeat what they did?
Yeah, Mijos winds up fifth as the 2-1 second choice, the Jimmy Jerkins trainee. I'm hoping, given what we saw in this race, I'm hoping we don't have a replay of last year where these horses just don't validate themselves from race to race to race. It's just the whole Derby Trail season winds up to be a new face every week. And
on the East Coast, it seems that way. Obviously, out in the West, they're kind of stamped right now. Game Winner, you have Improbable, you have a couple other really good horses. Coliseum is one that I know bounced last time out, but he's a notable name. The West seems to have stamped their horses as the legit contenders. The East is still trying to figure out what we're going to do with our horses here. So I'm hoping going forward, the Code of Honors, the horses that were sort of on that trail, then ended up kind of going off of it, can kind of reappear going later into the Triple Crown season.
Speaking of West Coast 3-year-olds, let's take a look at the Bob Lewis, a scratch-reduced field. Nolo Contesto scratched out. That left a field of 5. The two logical horses, Mucho Gusto from Bob Baffert and Gunmetal Gray from our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds. They run 1-2, but Mucho Gusto, the number 5 horse, really never challenged once he starts to pull away here in the stretch. You can see those West Point Silks coming up on the outside, but a chart margin of 4 3/4 eventually. Mucho Gusto over Gunmetal Gray. So another Bob Baffert 3-year-old on the Derby Trail.
Yeah, this was a very good performance. You kind of thought that Gunmetal Gray would be a little bit more forwardly placed in the situation, but kind of got off to a sluggish start and really never got into the race. But as far as Mucho Gusto goes, set the ideal trip in here. They went honest enough fractions and really came home in a nice time, 141-4.
And finally, we'll take a look at the San Pasquale Grade 2 event and another scratch-reduced field. We lost 3 in here to leave a field of 5, but like the Bob Lewis, there were a couple that were going to take all the action. I had singled on my rainbow ticket out there, McKinsey, but Battle of Midway was likely to be the challenger. That's just the way it played out. It was a ding-dong battle down the stretch. Battle of Midway is the number 6 horse. McKinsey's the number 7. Here Battle of Midway goes by. McKinsey comes back in a fashion that you thought, oh, he's going to prove to be the best. And then 5 strides from the wire, Battle of Midway kind of comes again. You see McKinsey gets ahead here, and you think, oh, he's going to prove to be the class. But Battle of Midway, boom, just again pulls away a little bit there at the end. Nice performance for the Jerry Hollendorfer runner.
Yeah, these two lost nothing in this. This was a really good race, ding dong down the wire, and even down the backstretch. You take a look at the backstretch run; they were going at each other early and often in here. I know they're going to be disappointed in the McKenzie connections in here. Obviously, going out to Dubai, that's the ultimate goal. But they went honest enough fractions in here. I think McKenzie's going to get a lot out of this race. Obviously, he was sidelined for a while, kind of progressing into it in here. He had a very good performance last time out in Santa Anita, but I think this is a performance that is actually a little bit better than it looks. I know you lost, but I think he actually improved off his last effort. And then Battle Midway, we were talking about it before the show even started. What do you do with him going forward? Do you take your shot now? Just because you're kind of using the class edge, well, if I could beat McKenzie, maybe I could go out to Dubai and potentially win that ultimate goal there. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward. So
yeah, it's certainly has some options, and we'll see which they choose. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, give some ideas for this Sunday afternoon. Please stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Mike Callahan. We're going to take a look at some action for Sunday afternoon, give you some ideas. We'll take a look at some of the action at Aqueduct and Gulfstream. Mike will kick things off. Race number 2 at Aqueduct today. Nice little maiden special event. Small field of 6, but I think there's some potential here for these horses to come out and maybe make a little noise a little bit later in the year. Maiden specials going 6 furlongs, race 2 at Aqueduct.
Yeah, I'm going to try to upset the favorite in here, which I think is going to be a heavy favorite. I have it 2, 3, 1, and 6. Go with the 2, Breeze Bayou, a first-time starter for Bruce Levine. The workout pattern's been solid, is out of dialed in, so the 6 furlongs, you probably think this horse potentially want to go a little bit longer being out of dialed in, but you take a look at Bruce Levine in this type of situation, debuting at Aqueduct in a dirt sprint. Over the last 5 years, he's 25%, so you have to like that. Again, there's enough workout quality in here to think that this horse is going to be ready first time out, and I think the price is going to be right, somewhere around 9-2, 4-1. So I'm hoping that Breeze Bayou is ready first time out for Bruce Levine. Underneath the 3, who is going to be your favorite in here, and I think potentially a heavy favorite, that's Stole E, going out for John Terranova. You take a look at the first 2 career starts. They were both in stakes company. They obviously thought a lot of this horse. The Dam produced 3 winners so far. And the fact that this horse faced Uncle Benny last time out at Belmont, going 6 furlongs over the turf, I think that's going to play a lot into how the people see this race. But for me, the unknown is going onto the dirt for the first time, the blinkers going on. I think the price and the questions that are going to go along with it, for me, I just had to put underneath at the value you're going to get with this horse. And then the 1, Running Violence, a horse going out for Charlie Baker, going to be first off the claim. And you take a look at an interesting stat for Charlie Baker with first off the claim with maidens. He's 3 for his last 6. So winning at a 50% clip, so definitely use that stat into your equation. This horse lost nothing in defeat last time out, finishing second, beaten a neck, but I thought it was really good. Now steps up in the maiden special weight company, which I think is going to be an interesting factor facing quality group. You take a look at the workout on January 19th, first of 92. 2-1 on the morning line. I'll use this horse in the 3rd spot. So for me in the 2nd, I saw 2, 3, 1, and 6.
Just before you move on, until you had read it out loud, Stole E, which is Stole, and then the letter E separately. Until you read it out loud, I hadn't really. But the Dam is the Gray Goose, and the horse is Stoley.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Very
yes.
good.
Well, another reason maybe somebody, if you just throw out a handicap, you just like names, you could just use that one in your
like
equation.
Names and you like vodka. There you go.
Yes,
Stoley.
there you go. So sometimes it's as easy as that. But we're going to take a look. We're both going to take a look at the Aqueduct 8th. It's a stakes race, $100,000 stakes race. It's the Busanda 1.8 on the dirt. What were your thoughts?
I have it 6-9, 2-1. I put Elegant Zip on top. I'm going to be interested to see where the betting public goes because, again, I'm a buyer's guy, and I think the buyers for the New York bred for David Donk are pretty good in at least 2 of the last 3 starts and compare nicely with Philly Joel, who is 2-1 on the morning line. And as I say, buyer-wise, I'll be interested to see because Elegant Zip is 6-1 on the morning line. Now, it is a New York bred, but coming out of New York bred stakes, so the horse has plenty of stakes experience, stakes placed in 3 of the last 4 starts. So again, I thought the David Donk runner could be live in here at maybe a little bit of value. As I say, I'll be interested to see where the betting public goes. Philly Joel in the second spot. The Maiden Breaker number was very good, 2 back. Then went into Demoiselle. Was well beaten, ran third in there in the field of 7. We'll see what this one can do in the 3-year-old debut. But it's Rudy Rodriguez. I would expect a good performance. And getting warmer in the third spot. First 2 starts were pretty good down at Parks, then went to Laurel, tried a stakes race, and was well beaten. I think the horse is better than that. Always Shopping from Pletcher and Rapoli, also in my mix at the bottom. Probably has to step it up a little bit. I don't think that's out of the question because the horse has seemed to improve in all 3 career starts so far. So the Basanda for me, 6, 9, 2, and 1. Mike, how did you see it?
I saw 1, 9, 6, and 3, and I did have the 6 Elegant Zip in the third spot, but easily could have moved them up. Her up anyway, one that has just faced stakes quality time and time again. I like Always Shopping though in this spot. 6 to 1. I'm hoping it's going to stay in this spot, but I just think with the connections, Pletcher, Manny Franco, Rapoli, I think it's probably going to get bet down to about 7 to 2. It's still a maiden if you take a look at this race, but for me, it's all about last race. Stumbled at the start, was flying home late, going the mile distance at Aqueduct. I think it's going to relish the 1 1/8 in this type of situation and gets a favorable setup in here. I think you're going to be forwardly placed with Philly Joel, a couple others in here on the stretch out, notably the 8 and the 7 in here, who I think are going to be on the stretch out and essentially going to set a quick pace in here. I think Always Shopping could sit the ideal setup in here and finally get the job done in the 4th career start at hopefully a decent price in here. Underneath the 9, Philly Joe, obviously she's the one to fear. We got a chance to see her down when Sully and I went down for Cigar Mile Day in the Demoiselle. Ultimately finished 3rd that day to a runaway winner in Positive Spirit. But if you take a look at the beginning of the race, Philly Joel ended up getting the lead, but she broke dead last in there, so she used a lot of energy to get to the lead. She's out of dialed in. I think the 1 1/8 shouldn't be a question mark when you're taking a look at the pedigree in here, and I think is not going to be on the lead in this type of situation. I think it's going to go revert back to the 2-back race, sitting just off of it. So I think she's a major player in here. And then the 6, the horse you like on top, Elegant Zip. Nothing that you could really say bad about this horse. It's just a true grinder each and every time. The buyers fit very well in here. Does need to make a step forward in the 7th career start, but I think it's one to use at 6 to 1. Definitely in this race. I saw it 1, 9, 6, and 3. All right, Seth, you're going to take a look at the Gulfstream 9th. It's the Dania Beach. What were your thoughts?
3, 6, 10, and 11. I'll stick with Casa Creed. I liked Casa Creed last time in the Kitten's Joy. Bill Matrani attracted my attention in the Maiden Breaker. The first 2 starts up at Saratoga, the Maiden Breaker at 6 to 1. And then I just thought it was interesting that Mott switched this one to the turf by Jimmy Creed. With that nice little Maiden Breaker up at Saratoga, the numbers were maybe a little bit light and was going to have to step it up. But at 12 to 1, I was willing to take the shot and did step it up. Nice number in the first start on the turf. It was a stakes race right here at Gulfstream Park. I'm going to stick with Casa Creed on top. A thread of blue in the second spot. Plenty of early speed for Kieran McLaughlin and a nice optional claiming win this track. Last time, 3rd spot, I'll go with Current Todd Pletcher. Royal Earn, the number 11. I could have put the bottom 3. I kind of like Casa Creed. I suppose all 4 of them I could have juggled up in various. But I like Casa Creed enough off of, as I say, that first try on the turf last time that I'd stick there on top. Underneath, I probably could have juggled them up in various combinations. But in the Dania Beach, I went 3, 6, 10, and 11. The other feature on the card this afternoon at Gulfstream Park, race number 11, the Swedish Chant, Grade 3 event for 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the grass.
Yeah, this is as tough as a field as you'll find in here. I like the 3, though. 3, 7, 6, and 2 in the 11th at Gulfstream today for me. The 3, Hard Legacy, 9 to 2 on the morning line. Going to go off for Norm Cassie. Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to be aboard. 2 for 2 lifetime, including last time out at Gulfstream going a mile on 16th. They finished up quick in 142 and 1. This horse broke slow. Ended up making a huge middle move to get to the lead at about the backstretch and was able to sustain it and actually pull away by a length and a half. I thought that was a better than it looks performance in here. I know it only got a 74 buyer, and comparing it to the field is a little bit below the morning line favorite and a couple others in here. But I think this is a horse on the improve. You take a look at the workouts. They've been really, really good. Norm Cassie already has a couple wins down there. And I think the 3, Hard Legacy, is a huge player in here in race number 11. Underneath the 7, a bit special. Has done nothing wrong in their career. 3 for 4 with the only blemish, a second beaten a nose in a stakes race down at Gulfstream. Was going the mile distance in the last two. Is one that's going to need some pace in here. I think it could be a fairly moderate pace as far as setup goes in here. So ultimately, I thought the 7 was one that I think maybe one of those you use underneath type deals, but I couldn't pull the trigger to put on top. And then the 6 in the third spot, Regal Glory, I think is going to be a big favorite for the Chad Brown Barn, 2 for 2 lifetime. Is stretching out to the mile, which is a little bit of a question mark, but is out of Animal Kingdom, so I think pedigree-wise looks to be very, very dangerous in here. So in the 11th, I saw 3, 7, 6, and 2.
All right. Some ideas for this afternoon brings us to our next break. When we come back, David Torregiano, again, local, the hometown rooting interest, the Capital OTB entrant into next week's National Handicapping Championship out in Vegas. We'll get a little of his insights into contest play here at Capital OTB and what he's expecting next weekend. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Sunday morning, Seth Merrow, Mike Callahan live in the studio. But as promised before the break, joined now by phone from our winning connections in the Capital OTB Road to the Vegas contest. And much congratulations, David Torregiano. Good morning.
How you doing, Seth?
Very good. Happy to have you on board to talk a little bit about your experience in the contest, what you're looking forward to going forward next week. Before we get into your current situation, fill us in a little bit. How'd you become a racing fan?
When I moved up here in the middle of the 80s, the Ellie Sheba era is when I started, about 30 years ago, for the most part.
Through Saratoga, I assume?
Yes. Yeah, I moved up to the Clifton Park area and ended up staying the next 30. I moved up for a job and ended up staying and liked it up here and got into the racing scene, and it's special.
Very good. And are you located in Clifton Park now?
I'm in Wilton right now.
Oh, okay. Right up.
Been up here for about 20 years.
Very good. And besides contest playing, what do you do the rest of the time?
Unfortunately, I own a liquor store, so it takes up much of my day, 7 days a week. But and I did about 20 years on the road before that, so I'm kind of spend more time at work, but enjoy it a little bit more than I did the road.
Well, I don't know if you were watching just a few minutes ago. We handicapped the second at Aqueduct today. Maybe a hunch bet for you. Stole E out of Grey Goose. So, yeah. There you go.
It's probably not a bad pick.
Talk a little bit about your experience here with the Road to Vegas contest. Were you playing every month, and how'd that work out for you during the year as they were the monthly contests?
I did play most every month, and I liked the format quite a bit. It was, win, place, and show in the order, and I kind of handicapped it the night before and cleaned it up the day of the, after scratches, and I left the picks the way I had them, I think initially a lot of the time. so I wasn't messing around with them trying to figure the odds out and things. I just saw it the way I, or bet it the way I saw it, and it worked out for me. The final card there in December was the championship. It was like they say in golf, it's the course fits your eye. That day there was stakes races at GULFSTREAM and the back end of the card at AQUEDUCT, and I was able to hit quite a few things, luckily.
Yeah, that was one of them, Dave. Mike's here, that I was talking about. You were a runaway winner in that finale. Was your thinking any different going into the championship round of 30 than it was for the first 11 months, or was it just sort of that was your day?
I think it was my day, to be honest with you, and I didn't change much. I finished second overall during the year doing the same thing, and it worked for me, so I went into the championship the same way. Like I said, I think I got lucky in that the card was, playable for me. It had been a bunch of $8,000 and $10,000 claimers at AQUEDUCT in the middle of winter, I'd have probably been dead, and it'd have been a different story, but that one fit pretty well, and I got lucky.
Are you a contest player overall?
Only pretty much at the OTB contest, which I've been in for years. I don't play too much online or nationally or anything like that.
Well, it worked out for you. And talk a little bit about your level of excitement heading to Vegas next week.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Trying to get prepared for it. Yeah. Trying to figure out exactly how you handicap 80 races and then bet them for 9 hours, and then go back to your room and handicap 80 races and bet them for 9 hours, 3 days in a row. If I could get that down, I suppose I'd be a lot bit better off. But it sounds like a daunting task here, which I'll try to. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can bet, and certainly we're going to be out there covering it, and we're looking forward to meeting you out there and maybe getting you on with us for a little bit out there as well. But you're our local rooting interest, so hopefully you're playing all weekend long, right through late in the day on Sunday. But as I said earlier, I've listened in previous years to Steve Bick doing his radio show out there. I think you're going to have a great time. I think it is a daunting task, but it seems like a ballroom full of like-minded people, and it's competitive, obviously, but it seems like there's a lot of fun and some camaraderie. I think it sounds like a great 3 days.
It really does. A lot of excitement, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's as I say, we're looking forward to being out there, and you're a local. You're the hometown team for us, so we're wishing you a lot of luck. When I contacted you to talk a little bit this morning, I said, hey, let's pick your brain a little bit and have you handicap, and you took a look at some of the action at AQUEDUCT, so why don't we jump in and take a look. Speaking of that second race in Stoli, one of the races you did look at was race number 2, the maiden special weight event at AQUEDUCT, 6 furlongs the trip. What did you see in that second at AQUEDUCT?
We're just trying to stay on the path of the prices, which I'm trying to do a little bit more. I like Dr. Bird a little bit, the 6 horse. He had a long and steady work tab. He's been going since before Halloween in October. And though the first-time starters are always a risky proposition, if he's any type of a runner, he may have caught a nice field, one that he can beat at a decent price at 7-2 or 4-1.
And what also jumped out at me about this horse when I handicapped it for OTB Live later this afternoon, Danny Gargan was training this horse down at Palm Meadows, and the last workout was a bullet down at Palm Meadows on January 24th, so that they elect to come up here to New York is significant.
That's one thing that I took into my consideration. I found it interesting that he was bringing this horse up from the south.
Yeah, and and to work that steady for 3-4 months in the middle of winter is something up here. I figure if he can run, he might have caught a good field.
Yeah. The Bisanda, race number 8 at AQUEDUCT this afternoon. Nice full field of 11 scheduled, a mile and an eighth for the 3-year-old fillies. What did you see in the Bisanda?
Seth, your horse scratched the
Elegant Zip?
6.
Okay.
Yeah, he did scratch, and he was one of the ones I was worried about. But I kind of like the 1. I like him on the inside. Okay. Great jockey, great trainer, and I think even though he's a maiden and it's not what I usually would bet, he should be a good price. He's got the inside, and I think he's the best closer in the field if he catches a trip.
Yeah,
that's the one I had on top. So hopefully, great minds think alike.
Yeah, Mike's pick on top. And race number 9 at Aqueduct. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts because at the top of the page I have written competitive race. I used it 5, 4, and 1. I thought American Power for Linda Rice had a little bit of an edge, but not much. I could have gone in maybe 4 or 5 different directions and probably had the same level of confidence. What did you see in the 9th today?
Again, I thought there was a lot of speed. I really liked the 5 a lot. Probably the best bet of the day, to be honest with you. Very competitive, consistent numbers, and I think he's going to get a good setup. But they scratched out a bunch of horses. None of the real heavy speed, so I'm not that worried about it. But they did scratch about half the field out for some reason. Four horses out of the 11, out of the 11 horses. But I still think he's going to catch a speedy field and should be pretty good.
Very good.
At a decent price.
And talk a little bit about your handicapping style. I mentioned it a lot during the afternoon handicapping show. I'm a buyer's guy. It's a tool in the toolbox, but for me, I do use the buyers as part of my handicapping. How do you go about looking at a race? You and I are quite similar, Seth. I open up looking at the buyers to eliminate horses, and then in the end, after using all the different disciplines or trying them out with the trip handicapping and things and pace, I go back to the buyers in the end when I hone it down to 3, 4 horses and try to figure out from there. Try to gain an edge through the buyers. But that's what I've focused on for many years, and I still do. And are there certain tracks you prefer as opposed to others? Yeah, unfortunately, and it'll probably hurt me in Vegas. I'm a New York fan, and I focus on New York tracks. Yeah, most of the time. That's one of the things about Vegas, and because of the time of day, they pull in a lot of California action as well. And I'm kind of with you. I like New York. I certainly like East Coast tracks. I'm not as well versed on the West Coast, so that's always interesting out in Vegas. You have favorite wagers, exactas, the horizontals, picks, or whatnot? What do you like to play? I'm a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5 wager. I love the Grand Slam. Can't figure out why. Yeah, I can't figure out why I can't win that every day. It seems like an easy bet, but I never do. But those are my favorite bets, and that's what I focus on. I'm more looking for a key horse in one of those races to single and then spread out in the other legs if at all possible. Kyle Brownell, who used to handicap with us here on the network, he still sits next to me up in the press box at Saratoga through much of the meet. He's a Grand Slam guy. I admit I don't look at the bet that much, but during the Saratoga meet, every once in a while he turns to me and says, I just hit the Grand Slam for like $100. And like you say, for folks who don't know, you pick one of the top 3 finishers in the first 3 legs, then you have to have the winner in the last leg, and it does seem like, it's very hittable. But in those first 3 legs, if you can get out some of those favorites with some long shots in there, and really you can reduce what's left in there, at the end you can be alive for some big money. So, I mean, trying to knock out the favorites are the big thing, and then obviously the last leg getting the winner. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty solid wager. Yeah. I got a friend that I bet with that I saw one time. That's exactly what he does, and I saw him hit one for $300, a $2 ticket, from knocking out favorites and hitting the last race. And the last winner was 4 to 5, and he paid $300. So since then I've kind of focused on that because it should be a lot more hittable than it is, but it's a fun bet. You can play a lot for a little less money. As I say, I don't really look at it, but with Kyle sitting there and mentioning it, I should probably take a closer look than I do. And I'll ask you, you say you're a pick player and you like to pick 3. I have been railing on this for a long time, and there are different camps. Some people think no, some people think yes, but I wish New York would go to 50 cents with the pick 3. Yeah, it would be nice. You could spread out a little bit more. Yeah. Without a doubt. For me, I like it because I play pick 4s, and if you get through the first leg of a pick 4 with like a $20 horse, now I can kind of use the 50-cent pick 3 to use some of the horses in those last 3 legs I didn't use. And knowing that you had the pick 4 off to a good start, you can kind of feel one way or the other I'll come up with something. I wish they'd get, and I think New York is one of the last ones that doesn't have that. It is, and even more just think seasonally during Saratoga where it's a field of 12, 12, and 10. Being able to spread out with half the cost and being able to use those extra horses really helps you feel like you have a real winning chance. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, especially in the big fields like that.
Yeah, no question about it. David Torregiano, the winner of the Capital OTB Road to the Vegas contest, will be headed out, as I say, the hometown rooting interest. I wanted to introduce you to the crowd, so when we're there next week, they can look for your name on the leaderboard. And as I say, we'll touch base with you out there. Looking forward to it. We wish you a lot of good luck. And as I say, hopefully we're still talking about you on the leaderboard on Sunday as well. Should be a lot of fun, and we wish you a lot of good luck.
I appreciate the support, Seth, and I hope to do well for everybody.
And what's the name of the liquor store if folks want to go up in the area and swing by?
Oh, it's Kingsbury Wine and Liquor up in the Hudson Falls area.
All right, give you a little push there. If folks are up in that area, they can swing
Certainly
by.
Appreciate that.
And again, we'll check in with you next weekend. We arrive on Thursday, so we'll check in and try to get you on air and give you a little push out there as well.
I'll see you out there. I appreciate everything, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Very good.
You too. Thank you.
David,
take care.
David Torregiano, again, our rooting interest should be a lot of fun, and you could tell he was excited. I don't blame him. As they say, listening on the big show, it sounds like a room full of like-minded people who, again, are competitive. You're shooting for that million, but I think it's also fun because we've all experienced it. Nobody in my family's a horse racing fan, and a lot of the time these days you're sitting at home on the computer, it's just you, and you get out there and there's a room of as they say, like-minded people who are kind of rooting along. It just seems like a fun 3 days.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, just to be able to say you have a chance to win that ultimate prize is pretty cool. Being in there, and again, you get in there and everybody, like you said, is well educated. You know it. You're kind of picking each other's minds. Everybody wants to win at the game. So, a lot of us, when we talk about it, handicappers, and probably a lot of our patrons don't even know, when we go on these trips and talk to these handicappers, we're always trying to help each other. It's one of those situations where we're ultimately trying to beat the game. Ultimately, on that day, you're playing against people, but everybody's still, rooting for everybody else, and it's just a great time. So,
yeah, looking forward to it. So again, we'll be live out there at Treasure Island next week with some live cut-ins. It should be a lot of fun. Certainly jump in and watch next weekend and enjoy vicariously our trip to Vegas. I wanted to mention one news item before we wrap up the show. It looks like what has been talked about now for, been talked about forever, but been talked about seriously for the past couple of months and has been a little bit up in the air, as there has been no schedule of racing past April, I think. It looks like it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but it's being reported that Saratoga will start early, July 11th, essentially a week earlier.
Yep.
And we're going to go to a 5-day-a-week schedule. So there'll be the same number of racing days. It'll just be 5 days with Mondays and Tuesdays off starting July 11th. And from what I read, that'll be confirmed by NYRA sometime this week.
Yeah, again, it just, with the length of time that it took and the uncertainty, it's nice to know that Saratoga is going to open up on July 11th, which is a Thursday, if anybody wanted to know. And again, I think it's going to be beneficial, obviously, to the horsemen. We're up there for the 40 days of Saratoga. Having that extra Monday off, I think, is going to be huge for getting everybody replenished and refueled for the week coming. But again,
people who work in the facility too. I mean, I am in the press box most days, and I walk by a lot of the the ushers and the security people, and I've gotten to know some of them, and that 6-day-a-week schedule, by the time you get 4 and 5 weeks in, they're wiped out.
Yeah, it's a grueling schedule. There's no doubt about that. We've talked about it when we've been up at Saratoga on set. But again, for us, it's going to be an extra week of promos during Saratoga, an extra week of TV shows, Racing Across America, Handicappers Report. So for us, it's going to be fantastic. But yeah, again, just glad to know what we have, and we can kind of plan going forward.
Yeah, and Bob Ehalt wrote an article, and I want to say it was on Horse Race Commentary, TR's Thoroughbred Racing Commentary, Charlie Hayward's site, but he also writes for America. Anyway, you can probably Google Ehalt Saratoga dates. And he wrote it maybe a month or so ago, but I saw him, he was down at GULFSTREAM Pegasus, and we were talking about it, and he wrote saying, there really isn't any downside. And we kind of agreed that there will be pushback just because Saratoga is so traditional that anything you do, somebody pushes back a little bit. But you get an extra week. I think all the folks, all the merchants in town will appreciate that.
Oh, the local businesses are going to love it.
Yeah, restaurants, hotels. But again, the 2 days off, everybody recharges their batteries a little bit. It may help field size, those types of things. So again,
that is true. It's very true when you say, because now you're eliminating obviously Monday's cards, so field sizes potentially get bigger. Maybe an additional race on a Thursday or a Friday now becomes something that potentially could happen. You're going to get, again, there's this year more than most, you're going to get deep fields. So if you're looking for value, Saratoga this year more than most, you're going to see it with the deep fields that you're going to have. So,
but again, you can wait for the official announcement that is likely to come this week. But it looks like Saratoga kicking off July 11th this year with, as they say, the same number of racing days, but it'll be a 5-day-a-week schedule this year. All right, going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Again, as the marketing guy, I'll let you tout the promos and events. 2 nice ones are right here at the Clubhouse Racebook today.
Yeah, absolutely. 3. We actually have 3 promos today. We have the first 50 getting the beanie at the Clubhouse Racebook. Doors are going to open up.
I'll put mine on
right now.
I'm putting mine on.
I've been wearing mine all for the last 48 hours.
Yeah,
I don't look as good as you, but I try. There we go. But yeah, the doors are open right now. You can get your beanie. First 50 will be able to get this beanie, so take advantage of that. Also, put your name in the hat.
I don't like wearing a beanie.
Well, ever since I shaved my head, I call it beanies now for some reason. I used to call it a hat, but ever since this helps, I don't know why, and that's very random. I don't know why,
how does that work?
But for some reason, because my head's so cold now all the time during the winter, beanie just sounds like a protector. It's like a hat, just like a hat. I don't know. Everybody's got their weird quirks, so that's just mine. And then obviously the bankroll today, $500 bankroll. So not only can you get a beanie, but you can sign up for the $500 bankroll with Seth. Hopefully he makes a lot of money on Super Bowl Sunday, which we have to talk about that before we leave. And then also we have 1% bonus today. Bonus day at AQUEDUCT, wager $200 or more. Multiples and exotics. You must be enrolled in Player Rewards, and again, you get a 1% additional bonus, so take advantage of that, which is going on today as well. This upcoming week, we're going to have a bonus day on Wednesday at GULFSTREAM, which is the 6th. We'll also have Prize Wheel on Friday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, and then also on Saturday.
Prize Wheel.
Prize Wheel. Prize Wheel's fun. And then Saturday, we're going to have Fan Appreciation up at the Queensbury branch. So
very good.
A lot to look forward to.
You can always go to the website. To check out the promos and events.
And you'll be in Las Vegas?
Yeah,
I'll be in New Orleans?
We'll be in Vegas. You got a wedding to go
to.
We were talking beforehand. Try to swing by in Fairgrounds.
Yeah, I'll try to take some pictures on the Capital OTB Twitter page and put them on of Fairgrounds. So I'm hoping to get down there.
I made the one trip, probably 10 years ago now, Oak Lawn and Fairgrounds. Stopped at them on the way to Florida and Tampa Bay Downs. But both of those are worth the trip. Oak Lawn. I know our colleague Brian Nadeau made his first trip to Oak Lawn last year with some of his buddies, and I was talking to him. Pegasus, they have another trip planned. They liked it so much.
But
Oak Lawn and
they said they had a blast. I remember that.
Both very, very good. All right, you wanted to give a Super Bowl thought? I told you beforehand, I checked out of the NFL season as a Jets fan about the 3rd week and started focusing on Syracuse basketball. But as a Jets fan, I have to root against
I mean, that's just like, it's in your DNA. Once you're a Jets fan, you cannot be a Patriots fan. Listen, I understand why everybody gets so upset with seeing the Patriots in the Super Bowl time and time again. You just want to see a new team. But I think when all said and done, we're going to give Tom Brady a lot more of his aura, you know what I mean, of just how good he really is, because he really is that good.
That AFC Championship game is like, oh, man.
He's so good. He's a coach on the field. And again, he's just that good. I think they're going to win today. It's going to be a close one. The Rams are good. Their front four is very good. Jared Goff is playing excellent football right now. And I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think it's intriguing. And the intriguing matchup is the up-and-coming coach from the Rams, who's only 33 years old, could be the youngest coach against the oldest coach to win the Super Bowl potentially in Bill Belichick. So it's the master of the minds. See which one comes out on top. So
you want to predict the score?
27-24.
Pats 27-24. Just to make it interesting, I will say 31-24. I suppose I have to go to the Patriots as well. 31-24 Patriots. I'm not rooting for them, but just if I'm betting, you can't let the heart go over the head.
Yeah, it's just how when all's said and done, it's really hard to go against Tom Brady the way that he's playing and just how good he really is.
34-24. I'm going to throw one more. I just had a 34-24 Patriots
Okay.
I'm going with, and you're going 27-24. All
right.
We'll see how it works out. I read Tony Romo predicted, I think it was 28-24, but predicted the team that will win will have the ball last but won't score. And he had it really parsed out to, man, that's some
He's
prediction.
really technical. If you listen to him, he predicts a lot of plays. He'll tell you a lot about coverages because he was a quarterback, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to know all that stuff, and it's imprinted in his mind, kind of like, I played college football, so we know all these things because of the way that it is. For him, it kind of goes over a lot of people's heads because you're just general. This is football, you know what I mean? Like we don't know it as technically as you do. So
wasn't just the score.
He's got a whole science to it.
There'll be a substitute with 30 seconds.
That's breaking it down a little too much for the common person who just wants to watch the game and the halftime show, because I think Maroon 5's playing.
And the commercials.
Yeah, and the commercials, exactly. So.
All right, we're going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Seth Merrow, Mike Callahan. Again, thanks to our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. Mike, appreciate it. Good luck this afternoon.
Good luck to you as well.
And good luck to all of you. We'll see you a little bit later. The OTB Live Bankroll will have cut-ins throughout the afternoon, so tune in for that. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.